Seminole headlines. A little bit different arrangement this time around, but we wanted to get back to y'all. We didn't get to do our traditional in-studio or even normal time slot this week. Ira was being a bigwig and was flown out to a very important conference. Yeah. And then Corey and I were just left twiddling our thumbs. So that's how it goes. But he's back now, and now he wants to talk. Now he wants to get in here and do a little something. How was Nashville, Ira?
It was good, man. I was just in and out. There's some friends I would love to have spent some time seeing in Nashville, but that didn't happen. And we were in, we were out, talking to the big wigs, making money, making deals, making things happen. You know how I roll.
Just keep doing that.
Good. That's good. It'll be good to hear. Well, in the tradition of making money, we should say, "Yay, sausage!"
Yes,
Register sausage, and we didn't get a chance to yay sausage it up on Tuesday, so. Right. Now we're yay sausaging it up, and honestly, you should too. Really, any day of the week, and you can find that at your local grocers. And if not, beat them.
Yeah.
No, not beat.
No, you can beat. You can. I mean, beat them to a degree. You're not going to call it. They don't have to go to the ambulance.
Verbally, maybe.
Verbally beat down, and a little bit of physical, but nothing too violent. I will say this: I'm not the one that's usually talking about registers, but now that my wife lives with me. Long story, folks, but she moved in about 3 weeks ago.
You let your wife move in.
Yeah, I let her move in. Had to see if we were serious. She does occasionally make register sausage with eggs.
Because she's smart.
It's unbelievable. Just the regular kind. The regular kind is unbelievable. I just want to throw that out there. The regular sausage.
All of the kinds.
Yeah, but even if you don't want to go crazy, if you have a palate like Ira.
If you don't want to go crazy.
Yeah, you just do the regular.
Let's go easy. Is that a short link?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Jalapeno. That stuff is really good. Good job out there, registers.
Go to registermeats.com is the website. If you're not in this part of the country, if you're in the Southeast, there's a good chance you may have it at your local grocery store. If you don't, as Jeff said, go across the meat manager at your stores. Or you can go to registermeats.com and have it delivered. It comes in a cooler, iced down, fresh. It's you couldn't ask for more.
Yes, and later we'll tell you about our other great friends and sponsors, including Tavello, which I like talking about beer too. Sausage, beer. I mean, it's a man show out here.
Teeth
and braces.
Yeah, well, that's for the kids.
Right.
Real men have kids.
Yeah, that's right. Bunches of them. Hey, so that's a quad one win, boys. That is a quad one win with a fight.
How about that?
You can't really get a better combination. I got to be honest with you, Ira. I was glad you were there for Warchant covering it because that first half was sorry as hell. I had a hard time stomaching what I was watching in that first half. Now, the second half looked like real basketball.
That was exciting,
There was some flow to it. People knocking down shots. It wasn't a break festival. Yeah, it was nice. Most importantly, let's just start with the fact that Florida State got a really much-needed win. I mean, they didn't have a quad one win this year. That's the first.
Yeah, they were 0 for 4. I don't think they had a quad 2 win either, did they, Corey?
Well, I wasn't going to bring that up.
I think so. I think they were 0-4 in quad 1 wins, and quad 2 below they were undefeated. I think, or something like that before Monday night.
Yeah,
before
I think there was a lot of
quad threes,
quad wins.
Quad threes, maybe.
But yeah, no, big win. And I think part of the reason the first half was so frenetic and ugly, which it was. I thought it was partly due to the intensity. Like you could feel the intensity from the beginning. I thought it was very clear that maybe they had a scouting report on Cam Corrin and maybe the rest of those players, but it was like very much like, man, you are going to feel us. And there was a lot of physicality. And so Florida State forced turnover after turnover. And Pitt doesn't turn the ball over like that. They're guard.
That's correct. It's a guard-oriented team.
Yeah, they don't turn the ball over. And Florida State kept turning them over, but then Florida State kept rushing on offense, trying to score in transition, and then they would throw up bad shots. So it was like, it was ugly, but I don't think it was ugly, stagnant. It didn't feel like the FSU Clemson games of yesteryear, where you're just pounding the ball on the court for 30 seconds and then forcing up a stupid shot. I mean, it was intense early, and then the second half, it was a fun game.
All right, so who's at fault?
Corey and I are going to hash this out. We're going to embrace debate. Corey and I texted.
Well, I get to do the fun thing because I don't really care in this debate. I don't, but I do want to hear you two debate it. So The floor is yours, Corey. We're going to start with you.
Well, look, we don't need to have the whole headline show about a January basketball game between two teams that probably won't make the tournament. But that's a big win for Florida State. If they're going to make the tournament, they need more wins like that. It's just the ACC is so bad. Ain't a lot of quad win one opportunities out there. Look, I would say this: Malik Ewan is too good a player to dunk a ball with 2 seconds left when the other team's not even on half court. That's like something you see, in my opinion, that's something you see a kid that doesn't play a lot of minutes do. Like, I just want to get a point. Now I got 4 points in this game. Well, he had 16 already.
He wasn't doing it for the 2 points.
No, I know. He was doing it for a message, but you have to know Ira, you brought it up in the text conversation we had. It is a lot like planting a flag at midfield. You are provoked. It is a provocative.
It is certainly a prompt.
It is a provocative measure to dunk a ball when the other team is given up.
Yeah.
They're not even guarding you. They're on the other side. All those kids have played 1,000 games of basketball. When you let the other team just dribble at half court, they don't go and dunk it typically. So he knew what he was doing, and he got the response, I guess, that he wanted. But it would be weird if Pitt players weren't mad about it.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. Where I think things went overboard, and when you ask who's ultimately to blame, Jeff, I'm putting it at Pitt's coaching staff because I wrote a column about it. There were multiple instances during the game where Pitt's coaching staff escalated things instead of trying to minimize things, which is what the coach's jobs is. And at the very end, that scene, the video I tweeted from the Warchant account where Jeff Capel's being held back by players and Jason Capel's being held back by players, like where was he going to go? Was he going to go fight Malik Ewan? It's nuts. And the problem is when you act like that as a coach, how do you think your players are going to act? I mean, they had players going up literally, it could have been a Malice at the Palace thing. Their players were going behind.
Get up in the stands of the students, yeah.
Luckily, there weren't that many people there.
Especially after the game.
Yes, right.
I mean, they were unhinged, man. I was texting, some mutual friends of ours during the game about like the way their staff was acting during the game. And I get it, man. That was a huge game for them. Just like it was a huge game for Florida State because they lost 2 straight. They did not want to lose to Florida State, a team that probably won't be a tournament team unless they start really turning things up to another level. And so emotions were high. Both teams were trying to, get that out of their players. But, man, you got to be better as a coaching staff. And I thought it was very impressive. And Corey, one of the things Corey texted last night to me was, it's so out of character for a Leonard Hamilton team to do what Malik Ewan did and to do with some of the stuff. But what was very much in character is when at that scene at the end, you got Stan Jones, several staff members telling their players to get back in the locker room, getting them off the court. Meanwhile, you've got Jeff Capel's craziness coming after them along with them because you got dunked on in the last second. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It would have been like if Mike Norvell didn't just go grab the flag out of the field, but then once start chasing after their players. I mean, what are you doing?
Stabbing them with the flag.
Yeah. That would have been nice. He'd still be in prison.
Stab them. Yeah. Their own flag. Hey, it's not the first time this year that during the course of a game, a bench has been yelling back at players and or fans. When Florida State played Florida, that was a weird set of circumstances. Where their coach or assistant coaches were screaming at players and screaming at fans,
including the head coach Todd Golden was doing it.
It was bizarre. Like in that moment, I was actually more angry when that was going down like that. I was like, I hope somebody punches their coach. What are we doing? This guy's an ass. I was more about that one.
I would say Malik Ewan's a good offensive basketball player. He is uniquely gifted, not just because he can dunk when nobody around him. He's just a very good Leonard's. I don't think Leonard's ever had a guy like him. He's fun to watch offensively. Very, very fun.
I don't know how many people have ever had anybody. I mean, when he dribbles the ball up the court and makes the no-look bounce pass for a layup.
It's crazy. He didn't grow up very far from Jimmy Carter Boulevard, guys. He went to Berkmar, which is the rival of Meadow Creek, which is where I went to. And I'm just throwing that out there. Like there's something in the water around Wilbur.
Well, Corey, then you should have known that dunk was coming.
That's what we do.
That's what you guys do at the Jimmy Carter. It's a free-for-all. We're always out here dunking.
Always trying to fight. Always trying to fight.
Is there any football recap Norvell conversation? Anything like? Do we need to pivot to that before we go to questions?
I did it yesterday, but mine was mainly begging them to hire me to help him with media relations or speaking in general.
That was a tough night.
I can't do it, guys.
That was out of character. I don't feel like it's ever been like that before.
It's not ever been that bad. It sounds like he's rat trapping, like he realizes 2 and 10 is just the weight of it or something. I don't know, because I'm not kidding you. 5 minutes, and I don't want to relitigate this. I did a whole opener about it yesterday. Like 5 minutes into listening to him talk to Colhane, I was done. I couldn't do it. Every syllable he was racing towards as quickly as possible. Like whatever the thought was, the air in between each word was filled with a or a half or something that was about to be a when he got distracted. It was crazy.
It's so many coaches always say, like Saban had IT,
which was always really weird.
I mean, I've seen there's somebody that posts in our YouTube comments from the show sometimes, and I think it's a lady, and I don't even know who she's talking about. It might be all three of us, but it might just be me. I don't know, but she'll post something like she'll post a sentence with like 40 likes in it, and I'm like
that,
and I don't know, man, like.
Maybe she's talking about you.
Yeah, I think it might be you. I think it might be you.
But what? How do you stop that? So
you got to be conscious of it. That's for sure. And everybody. And I said this yesterday when I was ripping him. At the same time, I said this isn't personal. I'm not taking shots just to take shots. When you're going to be in front of a mic and you're in essence making a pitch to people, you have to really think about messaging and think about how it is you want to do it. And just be cognizant. One of the ways you can do it is slow down. Slow down. We're not in a rush here, man. Nobody was racing to get to the conversation about the assistant coaches or the offseason and the plans in the spring game. You can talk like this, which allows you to hear, what it is you're saying. That silence in between sentences or thoughts is uncomfortable to you, but it's not to everybody else. You don't have to fill it with I don't know. I think there's a chance that Tom brought it up too. He hadn't been feeling well, I guess. And
he was definitely sick last week.
He's been sick, and so maybe that made it worse. He's always had the filler of
Yeah.
But boy, it was record-setting.
I think Tom, we texted with Tom about it too, because I feel like, not that we text a lot about Mike Norvell's speaking patterns, but it was very obvious. I have noticed that he's never going to insult anybody. He goes so far out of his way to not say something negative that he has to search for something positive to say.
Fair.
And as he's searching, Yeah,
it's just out there. It's just throwing it. Yeah.
It's like when he has something that is true, and not that the other things aren't true, but he knows emphatically this is what he believes. I transcribe the dude nobody transcribes Mike Norvell more than I do. I have listened to that dude
at least not for our site.
His whole career. Nah, nobody. Not live like a court reporter. I'm talking about live transcribing. Nobody in the world does it.
There are other websites.
But they're not transcribing word for word as he's talking. That's what I'm saying. They go back and listen.
You sure?
Do you hear anybody else's computer at a press conference going like mine?
Yeah, man.
They don't type as fast as I do, Ira. I'm getting every word.
We're making a point about Mike Norvell's speech patterns.
Yeah,
you lauded yourself for your speed.
Yes.
There are a lot of ellipses when I'm transcribing, because especially this past year, he'll answer a question and then try to find the positive out of the negative, and it's a lot of searching. And I felt like this year, this Tuesday night, or whenever that was a lot of searching to find the positive. But then when he was talking about what he wanted in a defense, the first two sentences are the truth. That's it. That is exactly how he feels, and there aren't any you-knows. It's when he wants to expound the thought and search for more that the you-knows come. But, hey, he wants an aggressive style of defense. He wants to be physical, and he wants, as you guys talked about and I wrote a column about, he searched for elite energy, which I thought was incredibly telling.
Oh, it's devastating because if you go back, I mean, the thing that made that team so unlikable last year was certainly that they lost a lot, but they often didn't look like they cared very much about it. And that was impossible to digest as an FSU fan and not have a sense of loathing and frustration and anger, because that can never be. That's a non-starter. At every level of sport, there is an agreed upon contract. You're going to try hard, and I'm going to put you in positions to succeed. That's where we're at. I'm the coach. You're the player. You, at the very least, have to give me everything you got, and I'll do my best to put you in a position to succeed, and we'll try to win together, and we'll go on this journey. I can't watch none of us would continue to spend hard-earned money if you knew for a fact kids didn't care or weren't trying very hard. So that had to have been devastating, and I think it speaks to how things spiraled, as Ira has mentioned before, that wasn't a 2-10 team. That's a team that played to a 2-10 record. And when you have the knowledge that the talent shouldn't be 2-10, then you start searching for reasons. And if one of those reasons is that they're not trying hard, that's an affront to everything you teach and believe in. He has to have been crushed. And so I think to hear him say that, it's kind of like starting, for block one again. But yeah, let's find some kids who play fucking hard, man.
I like that he admitted it too. In his own way, he admitted that was a huge problem last year, because he wouldn't obviously during the season do that, but he definitely did on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but yeah, he did. And you're right, by the way, when he's talking about something with conviction that he knows to be true, he has far less verbal fillers. And that's, he should think about that, or they should remind him of that, because there's plenty to talk about that we would want to hear. You don't have to fill the silence or the void with, nonsense that you're worried about certain messaging. You can ignore certain subjects. You can succinctly state whatever it is you want and move forward.
We want to move on to questions, or we got
Yeah. I wish we could rename the Vision of Excellence.
You're not a fan?
I hate it. It's so cheesy. Here we go. Questions. Garrett wants to know, in the Gus Bus offense, who would make a better emergency quarterback, Trevor Jackson or Cam Davis?
I thought he was going to ask if it was one of us.
Yeah. I was going to nominate myself.
Corey's going to type while he's playing quarterback.
Yeah, I type at world-class speed.
I think, that's a good question, man. I do think Cam Davis should be obviously in the discussion. I mean, he's a running back. I'm sure that's what he wants to play. He knows he's not going to play in the NFL at quarterback, but you would like to think that that's going to be an option. We thought it would be an option more this past season. It never really was. As far as a bigger picture, I think Glenn and Trevor. It was weird that Norvell didn't mention Trevor Jackson at all. I'm guessing it was an oversight, but he didn't mention him when he talked about the quarterbacks the other night. And he usually does try to, I think, include him.
Certainly should have a package for Cam Davis, right? Played high school quarterback. Goodness gracious.
He mentioned Brock Glenn, which is, again, I think that's a bigger deal than people realize, that Brock Glenn's still here. Not that he's going to lead you to a championship, but he is a college quarterback. But did he mention the incoming freshman and not Trevor Jackson?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Yeah. It was weird. But from what we saw, I think Trevor Jackson would be a good fit for that offense. But I also think Brock could do it. I mean, I think all of those guys are equipped to run that.
First name John asks, first he greets us. Greetings, gentlemen, and show enough.
Oh, hey, real quick. Sorry, man. We started questions, but we didn't start with Dr. Birch.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We have
the abbreviated show here got us off our game.
Yeah, so we should say, thanks to Dr. Birch Orthodontics, the best in the business. I'm eagerly anticipating Clark's next visit because it might be his last.
I feel like you've been saying that for 6 months.
They space out these appointments, Corey. You don't get to go every week.
Okay.
You got to wait until your appointment date. So I've been waiting on this one, and it's on the fridge.
I didn't want to give the listeners the wrong idea that she's just going to keep saying, hey, this could be your last one. When you come, hey, just one more. Just give me one more. And that just keeps going in perpetuity.
No. Well, and the nice thing from a payment standpoint is you pay for people that haven't taken their kids for braces or things like that, is you get a price ahead of time. And based on
they're not bobbing and weaving here.
Yeah, it's not like hey, you need to come back again for another $100 or whatever. Yeah. It's the package is baked in, but they do tremendous work. All of our kids have gone there. BirchOrthodontics.com, BURCH. Orthodontics.com is the website. Dr. Birch is incredible. Has trained in all the latest techniques.
Awesome.
In her, what would you say?
She's awesome. Yeah,
she is awesome.
She truly is. She's awesome. She's fun to talk to too.
I just got a text from a friend recently of where Dr. Birch was, doing more fun, more giving
community
to schools. Just
does it all the time.
Pillar of the community for sure.
Back to the questions. First name John. Greetings, gentlemen, and show enough. If you had to give a prediction right now, how many games does Florida State win next season?
Our predictions are usually right on the nose, too, so take this to the bank.
I get why they would egerly anticipate
this, too. We were all saying 2 to 3 wins last year.
Yeah, we kind of predicted this nightmarish campaign.
I'm
you are definitely nothing. You're wishy-washy is what you are right now.
I definitely want to say 8-5. 8-4, 8 wins. It wouldn't shock me if it was 7-5. I think anything less than that is going to be ugly.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it.
8-4 is to me, that's realistic. It's not pie in the sky. Maybe you do a little bit better than that. But that to me is the sweet spot. What do you think, Corey?
I think there could be, I want to go into this thing. I think there can be a 3-win variance either way. But
or an 8-win variance.
But I say 7. I think there is a chance if things go horribly wrong, they're back down to 4. That would be gosh. I would be surprised, stunned, of course. But I also think if things break a certain way, they could have a really, really good season, depending on, you look at the schedule. I don't know, other than Florida, that anybody else on the schedule is returning their quarterback. Like that's crazy. That's a normal. That's the day in life in college football now. It's a normal, but that's a normal reality. That's a reality. But I don't know that anybody returns their quarterback, other than in last year you started with two teams that returned quarterbacks, and they had better quarterbacks than you did, and you lost both games. So maybe that will be. I should say this. I don't know about Kent State. I don't know how much of their offensive weaponry they bring back, or Texas A&M Commerce / Eastern Texas, whatever they're calling themselves now.
I got a question for the two of you because I'm with you, 7 or 8 wins, somewhere in there. And I think just merely being competent gets you to 7 or 8 wins, by the way.
Yep.
Which is why
Corey, with the playmaker at quarterback.
Yeah. Which is why, Ira, to your point, if it's less than that, it's going to be ugly. It's the ACC, you're Florida State. Stop effing around. Now, one thing I would say, though, and I am kind of curious your answers, because I don't know that this is going to happen, and I'm not predicting this. But what if they get blown out by Alabama in the opener? Do you think that has the long-term for the season deleterious influence on the whole thing, or do you think they're able to just move on?
Can you use another word besides deleterious?
Yeah, so negative.
Okay, all right, there we go. Now we're talking. Now the wheels are turning.
Impact on the rest of the season. Like, are they able to brush it off? It's game 1. It's against Alabama. It's the first time we've run these schemes. Maybe it doesn't work out on that day.
Think about the victory lap that I'm going to take if they get blown out by Alabama, and it has deleterious effects on the rest of the season. I'm like, here we go. This is what I was talking about.
Now, listen, the other side of it's true, too. Bama's reeling.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Up out of here.
I was going to say, man, I will be very upset if they get blown out by that Alabama team. I don't think they're trending in the right direction. I don't think there's a lot of confidence in Kalen DeBoer. That roster is not what it was. I think clearly looking at maybe one or more of the players that Florida State brought from there, that maybe the recruiting had slipped a little bit the last couple of years under Nick Saban.
Certainly the guys that opted to come to Florida State.
And so not all of them, but maybe one or more. And and they're gonna have a new quarterback. Milrose leaving. That cannot be a blowout. Florida, and the other thing I'd say is, man, so much of what our vision of what we just watched skews what we're going to expect going forward.
Sure.
I really don't think anything about this team is going to look like last year's team. Now, if they do get blown out, yeah, man, I'm sure kids are going to be like, what the hell did we, is this our life forever now? But I don't expect that to happen.
It's a scary thought.
But I would think, though,
Corey, it's also exciting to think, what if they win the game? I mean, they win the game. We're off and running, baby.
But yeah, that would be a great way to start a season. But also, it does help that if you do lose to Alabama, and I don't know if you lose 40-6 or 34-17, whatever a blowout is, you do have 2 wins right after that. That you can. So you can't. So it won't be like you go from. It won't be like 2017 when you lose to Alabama and then your next game is NC State, because of the Hurricanes. Like you will have a couple of get right games to gain some confidence, even if you lose some against Alabama. So the way that the schedule sets up, that does help. There won't be any deleterious effects.
Fairbanks asked, could we have done the spring game in Pit Bowl Stadium?
Yeah, I could have traveled on down to Miami.
What's the guy that, like, in the 70s, the dancer guy, was it Danny Terrio?
Danny Terrio, and he hosted a show, Solid Gold.
Yes. So when you were saying that, that's what I kept thinking of. Good old Danny Terrio.
Good old Danny Terrio.
For our young listeners.
Yeah, it reminds me, Ira, you were telling me about when you and your parents used to watch I Love Lucy, like when you were like 5 years old.
Oh, man. And the Honeymooners?
The Honeymooners, you loved Honeymooners, man. To the moon. To the moon, yeah.
Alice? Yeah, well done. Hi, gentlemen. Based on the current roster, this is Michelle. Writes, hi, gentlemen, based on the current roster, including freshmen and transfers, can you project what starting 11 on each side of the ball would be? By the way, Ira is doing that for the website, warchant.com, as we currently speak. My man has produced depth chart after depth chart. Just take it on over to warchant.com and stop wasting our time.
What did you guys think about me putting a freshman running back atop the running back depth chart? What do we feel about that?
Is Keziah Holmes still on the team?
He is.
I'm really interested. Now, I agree with you, Ira. I don't know if he'll get the first carry of the season. I don't know if he'll be in the backfield to start. I guess we got to see him this spring. He is here this spring, right? The freshman running back. But I do think he'll be the majority of the carries.
I don't know. I don't think that's true.
I mean, I can look it up here while we're talking.
I may be totally wrong. There's something in the voice in the back of my head saying he was coming in the fall. I hope I'm wrong on this, so I'm not saying with conviction.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I thought he was, but I'll look it up as you guys the next time you guys make your next points. But my point with that whole thing is, man, the quarterback and running back are so key to Malzahn's offense, and he's not going to have just Jags back there. And I think a lot of those dudes, man, we saw the line was bad last season, no question. And they got no help from the quarterbacks, no question. I give you all that. But special running backs can make plays. They can, we just didn't see enough of that. And I don't know how many, they've got some speed guys. They've got some guys where you scheme it, they're going to hit it and they'll be gone. I mean, I think Mekhi Danzy, Sam Singleton, they've got some guys that can do, and they've got some short yardage backs, I think. But in terms of especially, I think they need
all-around back.
Yeah, to me, and he may be it. We'll see. But everybody I've talked to that's watched him in high school up close and personal say that kid's special. So I'm going with him, man, because look, Cam Davis averaged 2 yards a carry, or 3 yards a carry. Roydell Williams averaged 2 yards a carry. The line was terrible. Quarterback was bad. But any good running back Florida State's ever had would not have averaged 2 or 3.
That's why I thought it was weird with Keziah. I thought when Keziah played, he looked like the best guy they had. He never played. And I'm not saying he looked great. He just looked like the best guy they had. And we're not going to sit here and do it all starting 11 for each side of the ball here in January. I will say linebacker is a position I'm really interested in because some of them will be coming off the edge, right, Jeff? Like it's a 3-3-5. So some of these guys are designed to be coming off the edge. And how many of the new guys I assume both of the new guys will start. The 2 guys with a ton of experience, one from Nebraska. But, Cryer and Nicholson, Graham, the kid from North Carolina, there's like some serious, I think, experience and talent actually in the room competing for playing time this year.
No, it's exciting. That's an upgrade, I think, through and through at linebacker, at least in terms of talent and depth. Are they elite? I don't know. But are they worlds better than what we've seen consistently played at Florida State? I believe they will be. They're going to be asked to be. That's the other thing is that you have to be physical. You have to play fast. You have to know you're in concert with so many different things going on in that back. If you think about it, that group, whomever's playing linebacker, has to be physical, has to be great against the run. They've got to be able to – you're going to have very defined roles. It'll be fascinating to see who ends up winning those jobs. I agree with you, Corey. I think it's going to be fun to see who wins those jobs. Ward Winky Winston asks, upcoming season feels very 2022-like. Nervous from the year before, but excited about what's to come. If there was a game in the past that was our optimal offense could look like, would you say the Miami game in 2022, i.e. 16 pass attempts for 225, 3 touchdowns, 49 carries for 229 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
That's kind of seems right.
I'd like to throw more than 16 passes.
Yeah, but buddy, I think I think he's onto it, what they're going to try to do. Because if you gather that kind of yardage on just 16 passes or 18 passes, then you're hitting big plays. And we all think they're going to hit big plays born out of the running game. And then you're gonna get people to suck up and throw over their heads.
Yeah, I agree. I was just trying to think of another game. I want to say the Oklahoma game because you threw for 400 yards, but you ran for less than 100. And then, so in 2022, they had some wild variations.
Yeah.
The LSU game in 23, you didn't run that well until the end of the game, but you threw at will against them. So, yeah, I would say a mix between Miami and LSU. Byron, did you find anything out?
So I actually texted our guys, Michael and Matt, trying to get some information from them. I've had a hard time digging it up so far, so.
Brandon writes, in honor of Kirk saying he doesn't use Twitter, what's the most?
How about that?
And
then spending the next 3 or 4 days tweeting nonstop from wherever he is.
Yeah, I think what he did was say what he wished was true, as opposed to what was true. He's certainly been advised many times to get off of Twitter because he's not emotionally equipped to handle it. I don't know, I would think if I were his bosses and they're paying him millions of dollars a year and they frequently watch him have an emotional breakdown using all caps on Twitter to yell at some rando who's chiding him, I would say get off of Twitter, Kirk.
You know what's crazy is that I'm blocked by him, which I didn't find out. I don't know when
You're
it happened.
blocked by Herb Street?
I'm blocked by his son, I guess. And I didn't find that out until I don't know why I clicked on him to see some tweets he had, and it said I was blocked. But I've never added him once. I've never responded, I don't think, to a tweet of his. So is he going?
You were probably used. Somebody retweeted or quote tweeted you at him after you made a point offsetting whatever nonsense he had spewed. I'm sure that's how it happened, because I'll get put in a thread that I didn't know I was in.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then the next thing I know, I'm like, why am I in this thing? Yeah.
Yeah, or he's a wake-up listener and has heard you rip him.
He's got to be devastated.
So he's listening to Wake. Where is that Corey Clark? I'm going to block him right now just in case he ever tries to at me.
Michael tells me you are correct, Jeff. I never should have doubted you.
I don't like being correct about that one, but I was pretty sure.
Yeah, he'll be here in the summer. But listen, man, it's a running back. I don't care.
Yeah, I agree with you. They can figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, running backs don't need.
But I was worried that he wouldn't be here in the spring. I was looking forward to seeing him is why.
Yeah, and so he may, like to what Corey said earlier, he may not get the first snap. He may not be the first snap. But I think at the end of the season, I think he's going to be your leading rusher, I believe.
Brandon writes to finish that question, and this is kind of a fun one for us to answer. In honor of Kirk saying he doesn't use Twitter, what's the most blatant lie you have been told in an interview or press conference? Jimbo they want Jimbo and non-Jimbo divisions.
I was going to say, because I think the all-timer to me in a press conference setting was the Jarman Fortson thing.
Well, that was the best. We all knew he was lying.
Yeah.
He also I interviewed him every Sunday.
What did he say? Well, he said hamstring or something, right?
He said he said knee or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though he had been dismissed from the team, and everybody knew he had been dismissed from the team.
But he may not have been lying. As he was exiting the building, that knee could have been very sore. There could have been any number of maladies. Right?
The Matthew Thomas ankle one was another good one. When I knew that a lot of us knew that he was going to miss the year because of NCAA violation, and he said he had an ankle the whole season. He just kept saying he's
hell of an ankle injury. Just couldn't shake it. My favorite is the one in which I'm interviewing him after he. It was 4th and 1, and I asked why he didn't choose to go for it down, wherever that was. I can't remember the game.
It was the North Carolina game in 2016.
Yeah. And I asked him why he didn't go for it on 4th and 1. He said, well, we didn't
have
a 4th and 1. It was 4th and 3. And I'm sitting there listening to this going, well, I was in attendance looking at the 4th and 1. So were the 80,000 folks that, were there, and many whom are listening to this now. I mean, it was unbelievable. He was like, I would have, but we never had a 4th and 1. It was 4th and 3.
Like, trying to think non-Jimbo division, anybody? You guys got anything?
I just keep coming back to, there are times where players don't like other guys on their team, but they've always done in every sport, men and women, have done a good job of not saying that. But when they're talking about one of their teammates and they're asked about them, they're gritting their teeth as they say it. But I can't come up with a specific example, but I do. And even if I could, I don't know that I would share it. But I do know that's happened a lot, because you can feel it. You can feel like, oh, they didn't want to talk about that at all.
Austin wants to know our thoughts on Miami picking up Carson Beck.
It's interesting. I mean, listen, man, they're desperate. They got to do something. I personally don't think he's going to be as much of a savior as Cam Ward was. I don't know that he's equipped to do all the extending plays and all that, but they do have a good offensive line. They got all those guys back. He's a good quarterback. He's a good college quarterback.
He's better than what they had coming back, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, they were one of the guys that covers Miami that I talked to a lot said that if they didn't get somebody like Carson Beck, he thought they were going to win like 3 games this year.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, they've done some nice things in the portal, but they don't have anybody they had no quarterback. And we saw what happens when you don't have a quarterback. So
we did.
But no, I think he makes them a contender, or not. I think he makes them solid. I don't know. I still don't know if they've got anything special on offense. They lost some weapons on offense. They lost the running back. They lost some receivers. I think the tight end. So
I think it's a good get for them.
It's a good get.
But I think at the same time, if you're going to go out and spend more than $3 million on your quarterback, you better make the ACC championship game. And I don't know that they're equipped to do that. So, that'll be a fun investment. Maybe win 8-9 games again this year and go nowhere.
Feels like a Hail Mary that may be a disaster. But
it raises their floor considerably.
Without question.
When you spend that kind of money, Florida State just spent a ton of money on a coaching staff to raise their floor considerably.
Yeah.
That's what Miami just did with the quarterback. I don't think Carson Beck, trust me, I watched a lot of him play the last 2 years, especially this past year. I watched him play a lot. Didn't strike me as a great QB, but he's certainly better than James Williams, and he will win them games that James Williams would have lost them. If that's his name, I can't remember.
Emory Williams.
Emory Williams. There you go.
Yeah, he will. And when he's good, he's really good. Like when Carson Beck is good, he makes a bunch of NFL throws, but he doesn't always do it. So,
and he wasn't always good at a pretty good program. I know that the Athletic can say that Georgia wanted him back. They didn't want him back that bad.
Yeah,
because he's at Miami now.
Yeah. Do you think? Hyperbolic Noel wants to know this. Do you think you'll be able to talk to Belichick at the ACC meetings, and do you think he's a pastry or bagel guy?
I think they're asking if you'll get him one-on-one, because he will definitely talk to the media. The question is, will you be able to get him on your one-on-one?
I'd love to get him in the one-on-one.
He's going to do Radio Row. Like, can you imagine Belichick just going from desk to desk?
Cool. And
talking to Herb FM.
I seriously would love. That was well done, Corey. I'd seriously like to talk to him because I think he would enjoy the conversation. I'm not going to ask him one question about North Carolina. I'm going to ask him about David Halberstam's book, Education of a Coach, which I read all those years ago and loved. And it talked about his time in Cleveland before getting to New England. It talked about him scouting with his dad. It talked to him about him being 13 years old, watching film with Bill Walsh. Like all this cool stuff that I'd love to ask him about.
I think it would be cool if Corey and Aslan had him on Wake Up and just kind of asked him what he was thinking when they were down 28.
28-3.
28-3. Yeah. And, kind of at what point you realized Atlanta was folding like a cheap suit? Did you know
what's crazy about that is obviously we all know how that game ended. New England did score right before the third quarter to go up 28 or to make it 28-9. They went for 2, didn't get it. So the Falcons are still at 3 touchdowns. New England then tries to onside kick it. the Falcons were, and this was before it was impossible to recover. The Falcons recover it. So they have the ball at the Patriots' 40-yard line or 43. The first play is a 9-yard Devontae Freeman run.
Yeah.
So it's 2nd and 1 going to the fourth quarter. It might already be in the fourth quarter. 2nd and 1 at the Patriots' 30-yard line, up 19 points.
Icing this bitch.
They end up punting on that possession of downs with a 2nd and 1 with the best running game in the league. They end up punting. And then, other things happen.
I would suggest to you that they could have snuck it 3 times.
They could have snuck it the rest of the game.
Yes, they could have taken a knee.
Just QB sneak the rest of the game.
Knee the rest of the game and won it.
That's what I would ask Belichick.
Yeah.
Mathematically, if the Falcons starting at that point had just taken a knee and then kicked the field goal and then kept taking knees, would they have won the game?
So I don't know if we're going to get him. I'd like to get him, and I'm going to guess that he is a pastry guy. R.A. Andrews writes, gentlemen, the evolution of Ira in 1 year from calm website editor to supreme internet instigator is truly mind-boggling.
2 and 10 does a lot to all of us.
It puts us on edge.
Yeah.
What FSU football player from last season do you expect to have the biggest turnaround? Will Ira ask Belichick how he likes the Himalayan salt soap at the ACC meeting?
Yeah.
Oh man, an FSU player with the biggest turnaround. So, I mean, the criteria sounds like not like somebody who hasn't really done much, but somebody who actually has not played well,
and then they're going to play well,
or turns into a maniac,
right?
Like in a good way, like you have.
Right. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
and that's all. Believe me, guys, it's all Kirk Herbstreit and ESPN. That's what's brought that out. That's the only time I'm like
you on tilt.
It does.
Jeff Capel had you on tilt last night too.
He did. He's my new Tony Bennett, guys. Just putting that out there. I didn't even tell you guys what he did in the post-game press conference. Real quick, before we get back to that answer. So Chuck Walsh, FSU's SID, everybody knows Chuck, came over and he said, hey, listen, just want to let you know, before the fight happened, he goes, apparently Capel goes in there quick. So, you don't hang out here too long. You need to go back there. Because a lot of coaches will talk to their team first, then make their way to radio, then make their way to the press conference. He's like, man, he gets to the press conference pretty quick. So after the altercation's going on, I'm videoing it, and I tweet the video. I grab my stuff. Everybody else is still staying on press row, and I'm like, I'm going to get Jeff Capel. This is going to be great. So I head to the press conference. As I'm walking, I walk into the press conference. Capel's already at the dais. His SID is there. They're just staring at me as I walk in. There's 2 sports information kids who are there just to record. Yeah. And there's a couple of photographers in it, Melina, a couple of photographers uploading photos. I walk in and I'm like, what? It was weird the way they were staring at me. It was like they were waiting for me. And so I walk in, the guy goes, all right, any more questions for Coach? And I go to put my bag down. I say, yeah, and I put my bag down. He gets up and walks away. It was incredible. I mean, I understand
that couldn't have been, but how long after the fight was that? 4 minutes?
Within 5 minutes, for sure.
So he just went from having to be restrained from you and it made a beeline to the press conference.
He must let his kids talk amongst themselves for a few minutes before he addresses them.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with the coach going there quickly, and I also don't have a problem. But I was walking in and putting my bag down. Yeah. And he just stormed off, which is fine, man. I don't know what he would have said anyway. But he's our new. Yeah. He's our new Tony Bennett. I don't know if he'll be around as long, but
you tweeted that out. I think I found my new Tony Bennett. There you go. And now we have this backstory behind it.
But what was so the question again was turnaround player. Maybe you know what? I'm gonna take a flyer on maybe one of the safeties, like maybe Shaheem. I'm not saying
that's a good answer, Ira. Good answer, buddy. If we were playing the good answer.
Family Feud.
Survey says,
No, that's Shaheem's number 2, I think.
That's a ding. Yeah. That's a ding for sure. That's a good answer. Because he's actually, I think there's a good player inside there.
You think, right? He might have been affected by the slot.
He needs to be around better players.
Yeah, and he needs to have a good year. I'm rooting for him to have a good year. Let's just put it that way. That's the best way to do this.
Hey, should we talk about Tavello real quick before we finish the last few?
After we answer this question.
Okay.
Moth asked this question. If you could interview anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
I knew you'd go conspiratorial. I knew it.
Where would you break that story, Corey? On Twitter, on a tribal council? Would you
probably?
For
well, I would go to the grassy knoll. I'd go to the grassy knoll, obviously, with Lee Harvey. He'd be with me, and we'd be talking about it.
Yeah.
So I would say either
cameras would be rolling. You'd be like, okay, so here, who was?
Yeah. Who was? You had a triangulation going on. Who was staked out on this side?
Yeah, this is a turkey shoot. So you're here. What do we get? Yeah.
Right. Or one of the engineers who faked the moon landing. What about you guys?
You love to serve up a softball to the Blues. I would say either Isaac Newton or Richard Feynman. Feynman's a physicist. Well, so is Newton, I guess. But I like people.
Your answer. Your answer. Nobody wants to hear that nonsense.
Listen to me.
Johnny Unitas.
There we go. Football.
Yeah. A dude who would smoke on the sidelines.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think that's equal to my answer. They both play important roles. No, I just like asking people who actually can unlock and answer real questions about how shit works.
Yeah,
man.
That's why.
Yeah, that's all stuff that hurts my head, so I just don't think about it. I go back to TikTok. When I start having those thoughts, Jeff,
smart.
I just
enjoy while you can. Enjoy while you
deep
can.
In here. Let's run to TikTok. Tavello. Let's run to Tavello. Let's have a beer. Let's go.
I'm going to be running there Saturday, guys. Saturday, big news. It's Tavello. Again, there are a new brewery sponsor up in Thomasville, Georgia, right up the road in Thomasville, Georgia.
Yeah, right by the red bricks.
Their second anniversary they're having a celebration this Saturday.
Boom.
And basically, it's an all-day affair, guys. I'm not saying you need to drink all day, but you can come hang out all day.
You could, yeah.
They're going to have live music from 3 to 6. A guy named Josh Travis. You guys know Josh Travis. I think it's Jordan's brother. Yeah. They're going to have free food for a part of it from
nice. Free food.
Tea Time Bar and Grill with smoked peach dry rub wings and cowboy beans. They're going to have $2 5-ounce lagers and plenty of other stouts. They've got this is up your alley, Jeff. Again, I think I'm not trying to pigeonhole you. The Russian Imperial Stout is 10.4%.
You won't be drinking many of those.
I think they actually don't allow you to drink more than 2 of those.
I've had Imperial Stouts many times, as you guys well know. And even a veteran drinker like myself struggles with any more than one of those. You're about done dealing after one of those.
They also have they partnered with Distillery 1861 on a smoked cherry bourbon stout. So anyway, I'm going to be there for a part of that Saturday hanging out. Obviously,
I think I'll join you.
That would be fantastic, man. That'd be great. I didn't want to speak for you, but that'd be great. Corey's up in Atlanta. So
well, it just sounds good. That cherry one. Ooh. Yeah. Let's go.
Get you some.
Yeah, that sounds good.
The Tavello,
fire, boys, rapid fire.
Tavello, real quick. It's when you get Tavello is right when you get into Thomasville. Barely, you're just getting to Thomasville. It's on the right hand side. Great little brew pub, and it's just cool. They've got a deck out back as well. So check them out. If you can make it Saturday, great. If you can't, maybe another time.
Trailer Swift, who's always good. That's why we'll put up with this. It's fun, tongue in cheek. I've been giving it a lot of thought. Think maybe, that Gus might try to pass more, since the last time he was, able to just be an OC,
Ira, would you have because I thought about putting some in my column when I was talking about the way he talked about.
I don't think.
If every ninth word I had a, or that's too obvious. Like the 23rd word, I just kept saying, would you have let it slide if I did it for the whole column, or would you have thought that was too mean? And
we'd have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. Okay. I was thinking, how the kids do on Twitter, they'll do IYK for if you know, you know. I was thinking like IYK, YK, 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 YK.
Do that.
If you know, you know, you know, you know, you know.
It's a little less jarring.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway. Mike's going to have a turnaround. That's never going to happen again. I believe him. The next one's going to be great.
Get it together, Mike. Come on, baby. To the question, I do think he'll throw more than people think that he will.
Yeah, I do too. I liked it. I mean, man, Deuce Robinson, Squirrel White are like legitimate players, college football players. Deuce Robinson might be very, very good. Landon Thomas might be really, really good. You've got some weapons that it would seem like a dereliction of duty. Did y'all hear what I said?
Got it.
That if you only threw the ball 15 times a game, when I think especially early on, your best playmakers are the guys that catch the ball, not run the ball. Until we see what the freshman running back is,
Yeah. Also, I think that, when you look at just the quarterback situation is going to be so much better. I was talking to somebody on the staff. not one of the coaches, but somebody on the sports staff who he thinks if you had Castellanos, they have real high hopes for Castellanos, man. They think he could have been a difference of 4 or 5 more wins last year just having him on the team. I'm not 100% sure, but it's possible.
They definitely would have beaten Boston College.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Switch quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Trade quarterbacks, and they win that game.
Chaco McNasty asks, hello, Silver Fox, Lord Cameron, and Sweet Pea. If you were all professional baseball players or maybe wrestlers, what would your walkout music be? Slayer's Rain in Blood.
That's all, yeah.
That's an honest answer.
We get this question occasionally. I can't ever. I feel like I come up with a different answer each time. I do like "Wake Me Up Before You Go."
That's there you go.
Because of the jitterbug.
Yeah.
If I've just cut my promo, or no, there's some wrestler in the ring that's talking all this smack,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden the lights go. No, the lights go down really low, and then you just hear jitterbug, and people go crazy because that's Clark's music.
They know. Here
he comes, and I'm dressed like George Michael was in the video.
No, never.
You don't want that?
No. You could have like some like glowy like shoelaces, like neon, just embrace that.
It would be the whole outfit. It'd be the pink like sweater thing.
What I would tell you, Corey, if you do it, when you shave your legs, you have to oil them.
Well, I mean, doesn't that go without saying? That's
because in that video, those legs are glistening.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, what's a natural?
They're sweaty and then they're shorts.
Yeah, you got that.
What about you, Ira?
Real quick on that topic, though, Gunnar Henderson, you got to love he goes with Gwen Stefani, Sweet Escape. And the whole crowd does the ooh. It's a fun time, man. I like when they embrace. I like when, to your point, man. I think when people embrace silly songs as walk-up songs, I think that's
I liked it better
fun.
when you weren't an Orioles fan.
Mine, man. You know what I'd like? You know what song I always thought was great. Plus, I think it would go with my
personality.
Slow walking in general. I'm a slow walker. That's one thing I've learned later in life. I'm a really slow walker. And compared to everybody else, I feel like everybody else walks too fast, but apparently I'm a slow walker. But anyway, the Midnight Rider song by Allman Brothers.
There you go. I like it.
That's
okay.
Dusty
it is
Rhodes.
Long. It's a very it does work well.
Dusty Rhodes had the Midnight Rider character in wrestling. He had been banned, Corey, from he lost a loser leaves town match.
That's right.
He got banned.
And then he came back in as Midnight Rider.
Put on a mask as the Midnight Rider. Nobody knew who it was because nobody could tell that was Dusty Rhodes.
Is that the American Dream?
Right.
That's not the American Dream. It's not. He looks just like him, though. And he even has the atomic elbow. He had the Midnight Rider both.
But no, he left town, guys. It's not him.
Yeah, it can't be him. Wrestlers, the wrestling community would be outraged if they went against their word.
Yeah, that's not the way it works.
You don't break the rules in wrestling.
Yeah.
That was his song, and I've always loved it since then. So that would be it.
By the way, have you heard Sturgill Simpson's version? It's really, really good.
I haven't.
You'd like it.
I like the Allman Brothers.
Brad writes, what's the real reason for canceling the spring game? Don't tell me it's because of renovations or missing multiple practices. Is FSU scared of the NCAA?
See, that would be – can you see that? I wouldn't be wearing the Choose Life T-shirt.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that. It's the one where he's wearing the pink. But I would be dancing around like that, clearly. He's taking my moves. Imagine that, sauntering to the ring.
I just wish you could feather your hair. yeah, at least do the legs thing.
Yeah.
Why are they canceling the spring game? He's got some conspiratorial views on this, and this is gonna be the last question we answer. So give it all you got.
I do think the stadium is being renovated, and it's very hard to be Occam's razor there. I also don't. If there was a will, like a really want, they would figure out a way to have a spring game. You know, it's not really a will. There's not a strong will.
I also think there's an element of it is convenient. Like I think it's real, but it also works in their favor. I don't think they wanted to roll out there with all of these different new looks on both sides of the ball and reveal them to the world. I think that, even though there's a measure of secrecy there.
I don't think if the stadium was in perfectly fine condition and they were ready to go, that they would have just come out with another reason.
Right.
No, I agree.
Right. I just think it's convenient. It worked out.
They took advantage of the reason they had, and it's a legitimate reason.
Yeah, there's some, I think, listen, man, there have been things that have gone away for a year and then never come back. Sometimes like during COVID, like when, the kickoff luncheon was always a big deal. And I don't think it made a lot of money for the Alumni Association, but I think there was a lot of fans that really enjoyed the kickoff luncheon over at the Civic Center every year.
Yeah.
and that got scrapped, I think, for COVID, and then
it ain't ever coming back.
Yeah.
Either just like the students at basketball games being on the sidelines instead of behind the basket. You remember who did that, Ira? You know whose brainchild that was to put the students behind the basket?
I'm going to guess Randy Spetman, but I'm not
Kelly
sure.
Elliott, who worked for Randy Spetman. That was 2010.
Yeah.
And they have never made it back to where you watch a Clemson game. Does that look like a little tougher environment to play in when the students are right there on the side of the court?
Listen, we can go on this diatribe, but we're not.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry. I'm with you on this, but we're not doing it.
We think it was the main thing was the stadium. Yeah.
Tabello this Saturday for the big event. Thanks to Birch Orthodontics. Yay, sausage. Register sausage. That's Ira. That's Corey. Our thanks to Ben as well. And all of you. Be good, everybody. Peace.